I'm going to call to order Barstow Town Council, June 8th, 2021 meeting. I'll do a roll call to my right.
Ruth Ann Moore.
James Ramel.
Andrew Greenwood.
Susie Quarles.
Dustin Doyle, remote.
If I can, we can all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Have a seat. Okay, Ruth Ann, go ahead. Under council business.
Yeah, I would like for us to give permission for the president and vice president to negotiate on real estate deals.
I'll second.
I have a first, I have a second. I have to take a roll call. Ruth Ann.
Aye. Ruth Ann Moore, aye.
James Ramel, aye.
Andrew Greenwood, aye.
Susie Quarles, aye.
Dustin Doyle, aye.
Okay, motion carried. None opposed? Okay.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase agreement for real estate, authorizing the president to sign.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. I'll do a roll call to my right. Ruth Ann.
Ruth Ann Moore, aye.
James Ramel, aye.
Andrew Greenwood, aye.
Susie Quarles, aye.
Dustin Doyle, abstain.
4 and Dustin abstain. Motion carried.
And then I'd like to ask for consensus to file the state architectural plans for the police station.
I'll second.
I have a first, I have a second. Roll call to my right.
Just
Oh,
consensus.
consensus.
Oh, consensus.
I'm sorry.
We have a consensus.
Yep.
Dustin?
Yes, I'm good with that.
Okay, consensus. That's everything? Okay. Okay, Kenneth, Festival Country Indiana, have a seat. Come on up.
Great to see everyone in person again. It's been a long time. Just wanted to stop by. I provided you one of our activities guides. You'll find local businesses like Hope Gallery, Taxman, Portal Unlimited, and those. We promote those on our website, in our printed guide, and through social media and other ways. I've recently had the pleasure to participate in an economic development meeting with Aspire in the town, and there's some good ideas floating around. And our role is to help bring some of those to fruition. So we've got grant money available. We've also got resources and expertise. So we just want to be a good partner with you. Another initiative that our agency is working with Aspire is when Homerama comes around to kind of do an advertising campaign to get jobs, workers to fill the jobs, homes, encourage this to be an area where people seek that out. And finally, we just had our Festival Country kickoff. It was like the festival of festivals. So the first festival of the year, and everybody that was having a festival afterwards got to come and have a booth and share what was good coming. And so Malorun and Taxman were a couple of our partners that were there. So that was a big success. So I know you've got a lot of business, so I'll just open it up if you have any questions. Otherwise, I thank you for being such good partners to us.
Keep all you do.
Yeah,
Thank you.
love the illustrations.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Under ordinance and resolutions, we have an introduction, areas of zoning map, Santa Barbara from C3 to C4. Chelsea, are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you. So tonight we've got an introduction for ordinance 2021-08, proposing to rezone the northwest corner of 2 Cent Road and 135 from C3 to C4. The Plan Commission held a public hearing on May 17th and received no public comments at that time. The commission gave a favorable recommendation with the conditions upon adding a visual exhibit to the commitments, as well as committing to installing a trail along their 2 Cent Road frontage. As you see in the ordinance, adding a visual exhibit to the commitments, as well as We received those revised commitments on June 1st to satisfy those conditions of the Plan Commission's conditions, and those are reflected in your proposed ordinance 2021-08. This is again just an introduction, would follow first reading at next regular council meeting, and then a second reading. After that is when it's scheduled. So the petitioner is here tonight in the event the council would have any questions.
Is there any questions, council? We'll review it.
in my packet.
Thank you very much, Josh. Appreciate it. Okay, Joel?
Next on the agenda tonight, we have the third reading of ordinance 2021-06. An ordinance amending areas of the zoning map to planned unit development. And this is the Sawyer Farms PUD. Was on the agenda last time for second reading. We've had multiple discussions. We've received a revised ordinance from the petitioner, and I can go through what those revisions were. If council would like to hear those specifically, the petitioner is here tonight. If you have any additional questions, I know we have addressed building separations, some street light types, buffering. Question, Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Just have a presentation.
Thanks, Julie. Do we have the PowerPoint queued up? Oh, there we go. Fantastic. One step ahead of me. For the record, Eric Prime, Van Baylor Law Firm, 225 South Emerson in Greenwood, representing the petitioner. We've been here a few times, so I don't want to rehash old business, but I want to hit highlights of what has changed since we last met. There were several areas that council asked us to address. Those included an exhibit for streetlights that's in there now. There was an issue with regard to buffering of Mr. Ray's property. I'll get to an exhibit for that in just a minute. And then the third main issue was language regarding rental units. That language is now incorporated into the ordinance, but it states petitioner MI Homes of Indiana LP. MI Homes is in the business of developing and building single-family homes for sale. Therefore, MI agrees that it will not enter into any agreement to sell the entire Sawyer Farms development to a buyer that will develop or use the conveyed property as build-to-rent homes. Additionally, to ensure the best outward appearance of Sawyer Farms, MI Homes will include language in the written covenants that will grant the HOA the ability to enforce a minimum 1-year lease term for any home rentals and hold the deeded owner accountable for maintenance and upkeep, regardless of who it is rented to. That's the language, and we've submitted that for approval in the new ordinance. In addition, I'm going to just skip ahead here in the PowerPoint. You've seen that the sewer service is substantial. This was the original concept plan, again, just to remind you of what it looked like. This is the very first one we came to you with 441 units, and the only prestige units, which are the same type of homes that are going in Saddle Club and Saddle Club South. The only prestige units were off to the lower left in the pink there. The villas are the blue, and then the yellow was the more entry level or first time move up home buyer. So upon feedback, substantial feedback from both the Plan Commission and council and public, this is now what you have before you. We've gone from 441, then to 420. Now this plan that you're looking at is 417. In addition to that, we removed a substantial portion of the villas and the smart homes and replaced those with prestige, moving up the entire left side of the development and connecting into Saddle Club South. So now with regard to Mr. Ray's property, you can see that's the large rectangle area. to the left of the map here, there is now green space around almost all of his property, and with the exception of a few lots, and I'll come back to this exhibit in just a minute with another item, but let me show you. Let's see, there we go. This is a close-up of the southern property line for Mr. Ray and the northern property line for our development. All of the lots that abut Mr. Ray's property directly will now have at least a 20-foot buffer zone in between them. But then as it gets toward the center and where his house sits, those lots were extra large in depth. So we moved the green space down into that kind of triangular area to increase the amount of green space there. And then we will mass trees. There's under your level B landscaping designation in your ordinance, there's a specific number of trees and shrubs and so forth that you can have in combination with other things. And that's part of staff's job, is to oversee that, make sure that that's done properly. But what we're committing to do is to mass a lot of those trees in the center there where his house is. And the rest of his property is fairly wooded and will be kind of naturally buffered. So the areas on the outside of the red line that you see there are actually already common area and green space. We just didn't color them in green. But so all of the area that actually abuts Mr. Ray's property with lots has now been subjected to this buffer zone. But let me jump back, because one other item that was discussed previously, and I apologize because you've got to kind of squint here, although you folks are closer to it than me, so maybe you can see it better. But there are starred lots in this concept plan, and all of those starred lots will receive full wainscoting masonry wrap. We had 38 lots designated originally that were mostly corner lots or lots that were visible from the roads. But there was a suggestion by council that you could still see a few backs of homes across ponds in certain areas. And you can see, just as an example, if you look at the very middle of the subdivision and the main road going through, if you look north from there, there's a large retention pond and green open space. We've additionally started those lots simply because it was pointed out that those would be visible to folks traveling along that middle thoroughfare. So that's just an example. Other lots were added as well. So we went from 38 starred lots to 57 starred lots once that was brought to our attention. So basically, I think that has covered most of the issues that were brought to our attention. Unless I've left something out, I'm happy to discuss it.
On this plan here, the buffer on the Prestige in the southwest corner, it doesn't match the drawing, like the detailed drawing that you just showed us. I just want to make sure that when we get to whatever the final product is that goes in the actual PUD, that's correct.
Yeah, that,
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
by that? Like, I know
absolutely.
We've talked at length about both to the south and the north, we're doing the buffer B, but it's not showing that.
right. It actually, there's, let me,
Another plan?
well, there is, let me get to that. There is an exhibit with here we go. Connectivity and buffer plan. So if you look,
The next one,
one more.
that's included in the.
Well, yeah, but so back though, this is where it's got the 20-foot buffer zone. If you look at the legend on there, on against both Eastview and Mr. Ray's property,
Okay.
and then it'll color in with that little triangle that we showed on that one. But the lighter or the thinner green area, that's actually 20 feet on either side of that triangle. So this dips down and takes even further beyond the 20 feet that we've committed to.
Yeah, I think what we can do though, Eric, is just, we can modify the overall site exhibit so they all match and consistent.
Just so it colors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Going forward.
Yeah, the differentiation is common area between buffer. So that's why it's not colored, because it's still on a lot, but it's in a buffer area and it'll be almost like a landscape easement. So we'll color it
We'll
though.
color it in to make it consistent and it gets recorded.
Yeah, just to make it easier.
And I believe this exhibit's already incorporated into
This
the,
specific.
into the ordinance.
This one is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I know Joe had sent up an email about parking, overnight parking.
Right. The issue with that is these are going to be public streets. So your police department can enforce town ordinances. If there's a town ordinance against that, that can be enforced. The police department can't enforce HOA rules. And the HOA can't enforce anything on town streets. So we kind of get this crosswise thing. We certainly are amenable to the town creating an ordinance that would say that. But in all honesty, street parking in this instance will serve as a speed deterrent, right? I mean, so it actually helps that people aren't going to go flying through the neighborhood if their car is on the streets. It makes people slow down. So there is a positive to that. It's not always a bad thing. But yeah, we're certainly amenable to that if the town indicates that it would like to create an ordinance in that respect.
So we would
We would have to pass that, we could do that in a video. Also, there's a typo in your ordinance. It's page 721, 11.3. Bocce spelled wrong. Sorry. I told you I'm detailed.
That's fantastic.
BOTCHIE, it's BOCC.
That's probably spell check gone wrong.
Right.
And then just legally, if you can help me with some wording, the word shall is a mandatory, is that correct?
It typically is, yes.
And the word may is permissive.
Discretionary, yes.
Then what does the word will indicate?
That also is not shall. So typically in legalese, that's also discretionary.
Okay.
That's what we fight about in court all the time.
Okay.
That means. We try to avoid that as much as we can. Sometimes you can't.
I had a couple questions. Okay, so our lowest square footage that from your, it's called the Mackey, is that with garage or without garage?
Without,
That's without the garage, so that it's 1,600 square foot of livable. What determines, if you have 220 smart homes, that could all be, what determines that you're not gonna have 30 Mackeys in a row?
but I think not in the ordinance, it's in the,
Okay, so can we, okay, is that 4
That's
times
the
Yep.
most you can.
of the
74.
Okay. And that's your lowest square footage is a 1603, so they're without the garage.
Yep.
Right.
That's my concern is the low square footage with the density at home. And I think we kind of touched on bump outs. On the bump outs, okay, because I think we even talked about even going further, didn't we? Did you add that?
Well, what added was the wainscoting
Right.
because the bump outs were already on all the lots that were visible.
Okay.
And so we added that masonry aspect to it that wasn't in the ordinance before. So they're getting bump outs and extra masonry.
Okay. That was my main question on square foot. 50 is the same,
In that section.
right? And you're looking at 1,600 plus the garage. Which is
21 is the time now.
Okay. I see, I did see that on here.
And just a couple quick reminders with regard to traffic flow. If you look at this exhibit, we've got a boulevard entrance off of 144. And then recall originally we had an entrance exiting to the west, and that in the revised plan has been removed. So there's one main entrance and then 6, I believe, still auxiliary entrances that connect into other existing subdivisions. But in terms of exits onto main roads, we've got the main boulevard onto 144. And that was the, just as a reminder again, the green space, once we reduced from 441 to 417, the current reduction, that increased the open space, the green space by 2.14 acres that now almost 24% of the entire development is given over to green space.
You go back, Eric. to
Yep.
The slide that shows the plantings on the buffer area there.
Oh, sorry, I think that's this way.
No. And this is probably more of a question for Mr. Ilko. From a design and topography differences, what trees do we need to make sure are in there so that those views are blocked so that Mr. Ray isn't looking into someone's backyard, or is it, I don't know our ordinance well enough, I guess, but
Well, I mean,
the plantings that are there, those aren't gonna be bushes, I'm assuming.
no, those are, yeah, those trees, maturity will be 15, 20 feet tall. They're going to provide screening. Mr. Ray's house is elevated, but maybe, trying to remember the contours, 6 feet at most from that property line. It actually, our property goes down, and then there's a natural, I'll call it, it's not a ravine, but it's a depressional swale, and then it starts coming back up to Mr. Ray's house. But, you know, the existing trees now actually provide the screening, and again, heights of, 20 feet plus. So we've got a mixture of the coniferous and the deciduous trees in there. There's no shrubs in there. And again, mature height, 20 feet. Depending on the species that we pick, but these aren't going to be 4 foot tall trees. I mean, these are going to be nice size at maturity, and are going to provide a very good screen.
In the ordinance, it states you're following the type B, which requires.
Yeah, it describes the coniferous deciduous differentiation, and then you guys have an approved tree list that we can pick from.
And in the ordinance, staff has oversight on that. So they have the ultimate authority.
They'll work with.
It'll be at the plating process. They'll go through that and make sure that we're all doing what we said we would.
Julie, if we did anyways for R3, the density, what would the home count be if we did an R3 compared to the PUD? I mean, they can still put the amount of homes in, I think, according to our ordinance. Is that?
More, yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
we-
They can put more homes if it's an R3, so with this PUD, it gives a little bit more teeth to it. I'm not a big fan of the small square foot houses, but it is an R3 piece of ground, so. In street parking, I think we'll have to get on that because this is 400 homes. It's another elementary school and it's more police, so, it's definitely.
With regard to the parking, I did forget to mention, every house in here will have at least a 2-car garage and a driveway long enough to park 2 more cars in. So there are 4 parking places at a minimum for every home. So you got to have a pretty big set of cars to get onto the street. It would be visitors for the most part that would be
amazed.
Indeed, yeah, oh yeah, they'll get on it. Also where the walking trail is out front, did you say you're committing to putting streetlights there on the walking trail?
We didn't. That did come up last time, and I think we needed to have a discussion
You
with.
mentioned that.
There was an issue with getting power there, maybe, or I don't recall what the issue was. But
Yeah, I think the discussion revolved around just privacy for the rear yard. So we'd have streetlights at the trailheads where they connect to the main streets. We can make sure that we have those lit. But once you get off into the common space, we hadn't provided lighting back there.
yeah, there we go.
So give us an example of
So,
where
like-
the light would be.
Well, so where that center pond comes in, right in the center of the property.
Yeah.
Where we have a confluence of walking paths, we'd make sure that area was well lit. Down at the corners where the paths in the south, where they tie up to the street, so people can, at least at the entrance, and it's not impeding or, on the privacy of rear yards at night.
That was just my concern.
It's your 1600.
Oh, I know what the other discussion was. It was that your parks, everything closes after dark, right? They don't want people
Right.
going in. There's no control and the parks are closed. So that, to the extent this would connect to like Kephart Park, those aren't open after dark. So that was part of that discussion as well.
Hopefully they're walking down.
Yeah. I mean, don't matter, price or closed. I have any questions? I think
Dustin, do you have anything?
You there, Dustin?
Sorry, I'm good to go, no questions.
Okay, if there's no other questions. Dan, you have anything? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 2021-06.
I'll second.
I have a motion, I have a second. I will do a roll call to my right. Ruth Ann,
Ruthann Moore, nay.
James Rommel, yes.
Andrew Greenwood, yes.
Susie Pauls. Yay.
Dustin Doyle, yes.
Motion approved.
Just want to say thank you. We're looking forward to developing this project and continuing to work with the city of Burgersville.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Their process.
It always is.
Minutes from regular meeting, has everybody had a chance to look at May 25th? I have reviewed, I didn't see any questions, anybody?
I make a motion to accept the minutes from the May 25th meeting.
I have a motion to accept the minutes, I have a second.
Second.
I have a roll call to my right,
Ruthann Moore, aye.
James Rommel, aye.
Andrew Greenwood, aye.
Susie Pauls, aye.
Dustin Doyle, aye.
That's all. Approved, none opposed. Hey, Julie?
Next, we have the annual tax abatement compliance form that has been filed by the Health Pavilion. Their annual filing for their real property abatement that has been granted previously by the council. They are in substantial compliance with their previous filings. And this would be an item for your approval if you are in agreement that they're in compliance.
Any questions or?
I'll make a motion to accept the Health Pavilion CF1 compliance filing for tax abatement.
Second.
I'll take a roll call to my right.
Ruthann Moore, aye.
James Rommel, aye.
Andrew Greenwood, aye.
Susie Pauls, aye.
Dustin Doyle, aye.
That's all I have unless you have questions.
I think we're good, no?
Thank you.
Mr. Bertram?
Unfortunately, I come to the council looking for money. I need $7,495 not to exceed for an unforeseen ongoing investigation.
Make a motion to approve not to exceed $7,495 for investigative testing.
Motion?
I'll second.
Have a second. Roll call to my right.
Ruthann Moore, aye.
James Rommel, aye.
Andrew Greenwood, aye.
Susie Pauls, aye.
Thank you very
Dustin Doyle, aye.
much about this.
None opposed.
Yeah, you had three already.
All right. Kevin?
Good evening, try that again. I am here tonight with Pete Cleveland. We've got a commercial project in our service area that he would like to address the council about some fees and some considerations. So I will invite Mr. Cleveland up here to address the council.
Thank you, Kevin. Good evening, everyone. Pete Cleveland. Hey, first of all, a shout out to Kevin and your fire department. Last week, when a lady drove into my other building up They're right into the Great Clips shop. Kevin's protege, Chris Myers, showed up quickly and stabilized the situation. We had someone there to get some plywood in and get the windows all squared away, but they shut down the store for the day, but by the end of the day, agreed that it could reopen. So I really appreciate that. I understand you're transitioning over here, but some of your good work there in the background. So we're here to talk about the Noble Romans building, which opened last October. And as part of that, I purchased 7 EDU for sanitary sewer service. There was some question at the time whether that would be sufficient. And we agreed, well, for 2 reasons. In your sewer service agreement, there's a clear provision, which I signed. The owner acknowledges that the ultimate total number of commercial tenants for the project is subject to change, and the exact commercial use for the project is unknown. In the event that actual usage exceeds the 7 anticipated EDUs, the town may recalculate the number, may determine that usage indicates a need for reservation of additional capacity, which is fully agreeable. So we decided to monitor the situation, and we have been continuing to do so. A couple of weeks ago, the second and final tenant of the building, a dental office, applied for permits, and it was suggested I would need to buy an additional 7 EDUs. That with downstream 15-year laws and everything is about $30,000. So I paid some $30,000 plus originally, and then the request was another 7 EDUs for another $30,000. So we tested the numbers. I had some invoices from Noble Romans, and then Nikki, I think, collected some others. And the numbers that we show after 6 months for Noble Romans. Now, Noble Romans is 3,700 square feet. The dental office will be about 2,300 square feet. Noble Romans is open 7 days a week. The dental office is expected just 5 days a week. So the total usage for Noble Romans was 173,600 gallons over the 6 months. Monthly usage, 28,933 on average. Average daily use, 964.43 gallons. And at 310 gallons per EDU, that comes out to 3.11, which under your ordinance would be rounded up to 4. So meaning I would still have, if this usage continues, 3 available for the dental office. So it would seem to me that it most likely we will come in under the 7 EDUs at the end of the day. So my request would be to proceed and maybe review this at the end of the year once the dental office should be open at that time for about 3 or 4 months, and see where we are. The agreement is clear that you have the power to impose additional EDU purchases for additional capacity, and to which I fully agree. And so that would be the request at this time.
Do they have any questions? I think, P, what we'll do is we'll take this under advisement and we'll get back to you. If that's okay, we'll do that.
That would be great.
Okay, and thanks for coming in, we appreciate it.
Well, thank you for,
Thanks for your businesses here in Marsville, we appreciate it.
well, and as other matters we've talked about, I'm still ready to proceed on that when you
I
want to
appreciate that.
discuss that.
Mhm.
So, well, very good. Well, thank you, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Just let me know.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Have a great rest of your
Bye
evening.
now.
Anything further for me? That's all I have.
Okay. No add-ons, nothing?
Oh, wait, I spoke.
I'll
Wait
send,
a second. He's gonna add something.
He's like,
I'll send an email, but we've had a few things break over the last couple of weeks, so I'll update the council with an email on that, so that's all I have.
We appreciate it.
Intriguing.
All right, anything else? Board updates? Anybody have anything to say?
Motion to adjourn.
Have a motion to adjourn?
second.
Okay, we're adjourned.